Hi, and welcome to Hammer's Hacks, brought to you by Gold Tip Arrows and Bee Stinger Stabilizers. I'm your host, Tim Gillingham, and on each episode, I'll give you a simple tip, something that you probably didn't even consider that will help you become a better archer and bow hunter. Hey, everybody, it's Tim Gillingham here with Hammer's Hacks. I got another tip for you today. It's a question that I get a lot, and I think it's time to give everybody an answer in as many forms, fashions as I possibly can so that the word gets out. So, one of the big questions I get is, what's the perfect 3D arrow? Okay. Well, personally, I don't think the perfect arrow exists. You know, there's not a perfect nail for every carpentry job. You don't use the same 2x4 to build everything in the house. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages, and what you pick needs to be tailored towards the type of competition that you're actually shooting. So, if you're serious about your 3D shooting, you're going to maximize the diameter of the arrow that you can shoot at a given speed. Now, that given speed is where people get all screwed up. That's why there's no such thing as perfect. You know, 85% of people in ASA now shoot known distance. Well, that speed threshold changes from known to unknown distance. If you're shooting unknown distance, I recommend you shoot as big an arrow as fast as you can. Now, point weight is going to be based on, I would tend to tell you to experiment with that a little bit. I like in IBO, for example, X cutters and 22s are our most popular arrow. The reason is they have a rule that says 5 grains per pound. Okay, so that means if you're shooting 60 pounds, you can only shoot a 300 grain arrow. Okay. Or if you're shooting 70 pounds, you can only shoot a 350 grain arrow. These two arrows just hit that weight range perfect. And I hope to have something else out this year that's going to fall into that category too for some of you lower poundage guys. So, and women. So if you're a woman, your options tend to be more towards the ultralight line of arrows. We build that on a 6 and 700 spine that are 5.3, 5.7 grains an inch. So it allows you to get your speed up. IBO does have a rule that says if you can either pick one or the other, 5 grains per pound, or I believe it's a 280 foot per second speed limit. So if you can go 4 grains per pound and get 280, then you're allowed to do that also. But you have to kind of make the choice when you're tested. In ASA, there's really not any rules. You know, it's 295 foot a second for pros. But there's really no advantage or disadvantage to shooting faster if you're shooting known distance. Now, personally, I have discovered that I probably shoot a little bit better if the arrow gets faster out of my bow, but that's a personal thing. That depends on your shot style. It's something, you know, you should experiment with. I have shot professional level 3D tournaments in known distance at 270 foot a second because I wanted to shoot the largest arrow that I could, which was a triple X with a heavy point. So now I'm kind of in the middle. I'm shooting a triple X, 140 grain point, and right around 68 pounds. Somewhere in that 285, I think I'm at 287 feet per second. Seems to really be a really good happy medium. Now, when I go to IBO, on the other hand, I shoot this arrow. Now, I had shot 30Xs for a lot of my last couple of years in IBO, because IBO now has a rule for the pro classes that you have a 300 foot per second rule. So you got up to 306 foot a second. So you maximize the diameter for the speed allowed. Okay. I had shot 30Xs because I'd wanted to shoot 140 grains in the front. So I did a little experiment, put a little bit smaller vane on it with these 2.1 Q2Is, 120 grain point. They shot lights out. And so that's now my new IBO setup. I shoot that arrow at 306 feet a second. I maxed out for what they allow me. So it kind of band-aids my yardage judging. And that's what I'm going to shoot going forward. Okay. But for most of you, it's going to be just this battle between 30X, X cutter, and 22 series. And that's going to be based on what poundage are you willing to pull, what your draw length. But again, don't hesitate to shoot an overdraw to shoot a fatter arrow. I shoot an arrow overdraw for everything. Now, keep them arrows short. Put that weight up in the point. You're going to have better success. Run 4-fletch on larger diameter arrows. I just like fixed blade broadheads. A larger arrow has a bigger surface area, so it's got a bigger planing surface area. So when you make a mistake, it has more air surface to catch and plane off. So we want to make sure that we are maximizing that potential. Now, in the women's classes, you tend to look at maximum diameter in IBO. I mean, girls just can't normally shoot the poundage. So to get to 5 grains per pound, they're probably going to go with an arrow similar to these ultralights in a 700 spines, because you can get those things down in the 260 to 270, 280 range with a decent point weight. And you can go as light as, I would say, 55 grains. I won IBO World one year with a 50 grain point in a XXX. Not telling you I would recommend that to everybody, but I shot phenomenal with them, and it is an option. So we do make, down to 35 grain points in the ultralight and down to 50 grain points for everything else. And then our FAC weight system we have at Gold Tip really allows you to, fine tune that arrow and go forward and go back and check. You can play with a little less point weight. If you don't like it, you can take it out, or it's just a very great system to be able to, tweak your setups with. Other than that, there's just not a lot to 3D. Now, one of the things that, when you go international in 3D, it's different. So international basically has a rule. You have 2 basic things you have to concede to. Number one is you're limited to 9.3 diameter. Okay. That's the max diameter, 9.3 millimeters that you can use. In the Gold Tip lineup, that's the 9.3. We make it in a Pro and a Plus series. Okay. But you also have to take into consideration kiss outs. Okay. In international 3D competition, you shoot 2 arrows per target. So some people tend to go maybe a 22 series over an ultra, over the 9.3, so that they can run more weight. If you're always going to be shooting in the wind, then you have to, make the concession that, hey, I need to either run a little bit smaller arrow, I need to run a little bit more point weight, and that's going to be more optimal for me. So those are kind of the criteria. I see a lot of people, though, in ASA shooting 9.3s, including Levi Morgan, and I kind of question why, because the X cutter is 7.8 grains an inch. The 9.3 is 8.3 grains an inch, okay? I can run a bigger arrow with more point weight with the X cutter than I can the 9.3, so why would I ever want to shoot a 9.3 in 3D competition unless I'm limited to a 9.3 as a max diameter? There are classes even in ASA and intramural college competition where that is limited. So that's the main criteria you're looking at with a 3D arrow. Okay, shoot the biggest arrow you can get up to speed for the given rules. So I hope that clarifies some things on the 3D side of things for you. This is Hammers Hacks. Let's keep them in the middle. Hey, before you go, there's some great ways to keep getting even more info and tips. Subscribe to Gold Tip Archery Ops podcast to hear my conversation with top experts in archery and bow hunting. You can also check out Gold Tip on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening, and always start tough and stay true out there.